Good evening and welcome to Diplomatic Faces. Tonight we have a very special guest. She is a British diplomat, barrister, King's Counsel and a politician. She served in House of Lords in 1997 as a British Labour Party politician and served in several ministerial positions within the UK government. And most notably, she is known for serving as the Attorney General for England and Wales and Advocate General for Northern Ireland. She was elected at the 2015 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, and she is the first woman ever to hold the position of Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations. Please welcome my guest tonight, Right Honourable Patricia Scotland. Commonwealth is one of the biggest or oldest political associations or bodies. Now, as this is obvious, it consists of the countries, except for United States, all the countries which got independence from Britain. The Commonwealth's role, and or if I may use the term, role from the origin and now, has it changed or is it the same?
I think it has changed, but it has changed in order to deliver the same principles. Because if you remember, the new Commonwealth was really created in 1949, when the 8 countries who had fought and obtained independence from the United Kingdom still wanted to be in a familial relationship with the countries with whom they had been in partnership for so long. And as a result of that, I think they saw the continuing relationship with the Commonwealth as bringing a touch of healing to some of the old relationships. There was love, there was friendship. And I think in 1953, Her Majesty the Queen described the new Commonwealth as an entirely new concept, different from empire, built on the finest qualities of man, friendship, integrity, and to bring about a partnership between countries and races. And in 1953, that was quite a startling thing to say, because if you remember, unfortunately, the world was inherently racist in 1953, and I cannot think of any other young leader, and of course Her Majesty the Queen at that stage was a young female leader who was talking in those days about equality of races. So that fundamental approach to equality and comity and friendship and humanity and justice, that was the essence of the new Commonwealth in 1953, and it remains the basis of the Commonwealth today. We're now 56 countries, 2.5 billion people, 60% of whom are under the age of 30. And not all the countries who are present as part of Commonwealth today were part of the empire. The last 2 countries who just joined, Gabon and Togo, were part of the French empire. So we now have 36 republics. So it's a new, dynamic organization, but focused on delivering the aspirations and the values that were embedded in 1949.
Right. You mentioned about core values have changed, and I understand the values you meant was the rule of law, human rights, promotion of development, democracy, strengthening, learning from each other, and now business as well. Now, and 2.5 billion people, that's like 1/4 or 1/3 of the population of the world is there. Now, you would know all the Commonwealth countries, most of them have not developed like they should have, right? And some of them have not. Some of them are still poor. Some of them are doing good. We take countries like Singapore and other small countries. What can the bigger countries in Commonwealth, how can they help, or how can the smaller countries benefit from the other stronger, richer brothers of the Commonwealth?
Well, the whole structure of the way the Commonwealth works enables that to happen. The Commonwealth comes together and helps each other by technical support, advice and assistance. So for example, we have come together on issues in relation to race discrimination. You saw that in apartheid. We came together in relation to climate change. The small countries, we have 33 of the 56 are small, 25 are island states. They have been disproportionately disadvantaged by climate change, and it poses an existential threat. the fact that the big countries and the small countries were together in 1989 led to the Langkawi Declaration on Climate. Now, the most obvious needs were with the small, but it affected everybody. And that opportunity for the big countries to coalesce around the issues which are affecting the small and the marginalized has continued. In 2015, in Malta, it was the Commonwealth who, before the Paris Agreement in December, came up with the formula of enforceability, 2 degrees and 1.5 aspirational target to keep the rise in the heat of our world into a proportional, manageable sort. Now, last year, the Commonwealth heads of government put loss and damage for the first time in 27 years on the agenda, something that had been fought for by everyone. And at Sharm el-Sheikh, we managed to get it. So the whole way in which the Commonwealth works is as a collective, by consensus, looking at the things that bring us together. In 2019, we had the law ministers meeting here in Sri Lanka. Huge advances were made because our 54 then countries came together and made a difference. And so this is how the power of the Commonwealth, the big ones, the small ones, can come together, and the medium-sized ones. And I'd just like to say it's not one way, because although the bigger countries may have more money, the smaller countries are not short in genius. And you know, human genius has got us into the mess that we're in now, and human genius and innovation is going to get us out. And we all need each other. I sometimes think that the big countries are like the tankers, that the little flotillas can come behind. But when a tanker gets stuck on a coastline, they need the little flotillas to pull them out into water. So the big ones need the small ones, and the big and the small need the middle size. And we have every culture, every race, every religion, every dynamic in our Commonwealth, covering 5 regions and 6 oceans.
Yeah. You mentioned about this racism thing there for several in your points. One of the things across the board, even in non-Commonwealth countries, is the problem we are grappling is racism and religious differences, and that's standing on the way. With regard to the Commonwealth 56 countries, is there any like a common stand these countries are taking against racism and religious differences?
They've always did it. If you remember, it was the Commonwealth who basically brought apartheid to its knees. They stood up, and I think it was Nelson Mandela who said that the world was safer because of the Commonwealth. And the first time when he was out of prison, the first place he came in London was to Marlborough House, to basically acknowledge that the Commonwealth as a family had stood together and had faced it down. In 1979, there was the a declaration on racism. We made a declaration, another declaration on racism just 2 years ago in 2021. So this is an issue which has remained at the forefront, and I think it is an issue which I would like to see dealt with finally, so that we would have the parity, the treatment, to make sure the marginalised are included. We're not there yet, but the Commonwealth has never given up. We create this opportunity for people to come together and to do better.
Yeah, Sri Lanka, as you know, and as you mentioned as you were giving the answers to other questions, been an active member of the Commonwealth very active. And we had the 2013, we had the Commonwealth Heads of States meeting here.
Yes.
What is the current relationship? How would you describe the current relationship of Sri Lanka with the Commonwealth?
This relationship with Sri Lanka is excellent. If you can look at my 6 years as Secretary General, just as an example, there have been a number of changes in government in Sri Lanka during those 6 years. Yet the relationship between Sri Lanka and the Secretariat, whoever has been in government, has remained robust. And that's because we all agree in democracy, and democracies aren't easy. There are problems, there are difficulties. right now the world is not in a good financial, economic state. Everyone is suffering.
Yes.
But one of the challenges that we have is to make sure that we stay in friendship, that we stay and listen to each other, we work together, and that we come up with the solutions that we will need, particularly for our young people who will take the brunt of many of these economic challenges. They need employability, and they will take the brunt of climate change too. So there is a very, very close relationship, and so Sri Lanka has led on our Blue Charter, on mangroves. I know they're going to support us on the Living Lands Charter, which will seek to implement the 3 Rio Conventions. Sri Lanka came first in the Asia region on our course in terms of implementing the performance management system. So I don't think there has ever been a time when we have invited whichever government was in Sri Lanka to participate when they have been unwilling to do so. So I think Sri Lanka has a very proud history in the Commonwealth.
Right. Developing legal systems and governance, I think this is one of the core duties you take upon yourself as Commonwealth to do. And as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, what areas do you see we need to strengthen our law, and what areas do you see, or would you advise us to strengthen our governance?
Well, we have done a lot of work on governance. We've now created this new performance management system, which I know that Sri Lanka is very interested in implementing. We are looking at climate legislation. We've created a climate legal toolkit. We're looking also at creating a new framework, legislation and regulation for the implementation of digital assets. That was what was agreed amongst the 56 governments, law ministers in Mauritius last year. And so looking at how we can pool information on implementation of best practice and legal structures, we're also looking at doing Commonwealth framework contracts, because in infrastructure, in energy, and in mining, these are areas where many of our member states don't have a huge or sufficient legal muscle.
Right.
So pooling our expertise, helping our countries, is what we have always done and what we're doing right now.
Right.
And of course, Sri Lanka can benefit from all that work.
Right. And as you mentioned in your other answers as well, COVID-19, post-pandemic time, everybody got affected, right?
Absolutely.
And you just heard on Friday that even the developing countries, out of the developed strong economy, British economy, the 6th strong economy, it's going to shrink this year. So which means everybody is feeling the pinch. And as you know, Sri Lanka is in a severe, huge, unprecedented economic crisis. How can the Commonwealth help us at this stage?
Well, we are helping, firstly, by we've got Meridian, which is a debt management system. Right. Sri Lanka has used the debt management system. We are absolutely willing to support. We are helping by the connectivity agenda we're running in terms of how we can enhance the opportunities for trade, intra-Commonwealth trade. Inter-Commonwealth trade has stabilized and has actually started to grow now from $700 to $768 billion. We hope that by 2026 it should be at $1 trillion, and by 2030, $2 trillion. We also believe that the work we're doing on enhancing digital trade will be fundamentally important, because that's the opportunities for employability for our young people. We're doing work with a company called Simply Learn, who've agreed to give us 10,000 training spaces for young people across the Commonwealth, and we are in a position to offer Sri Lankan young people 200 of these training spaces, scholarships. They will be for free. And we are looking at how we train senior officials in government in order to assist them to take advantage of the opportunities created by artificial intelligence, blockchain, and machine learning. Now, all of this will help to strengthen the economy and hopefully help us to kickstart. But we're looking at blue energy, blue economy, green energy, green economy, because if you think about the areas of growth, the new businesses that have been created in the last 10 years are going to be the engines for tomorrow. And the technical opportunities to use technology to build our trade is going to be pivotal. I said when I became Secretary General that I wanted to put the wealth back into Commonwealth, but I also wanted to put the common back into wealth, because we mustn't leave anyone behind. And the message I really want to say to Sri Lankans is you are part of a most amazing Commonwealth family, and you will never be alone, because your Commonwealth brothers and sisters will always be here to stand with you, particularly in this terrible time of need.
Yeah. Let me ask you a bit of a deviating from this your personal question. Like you joined the House of Lords in 1997, and you served in so many different as Lord Chancellor in Department, and then you were in High Court, and you did a lot of work in law. My question is, your experience in law and whatever you did, how will this does this contribute to your role as a diplomat?
I think it contributes enormously, because we are looking at how we enhance and change and develop the civil and criminal legal justice systems, and how we deliver on the rule of law.
Okay.
And this has been a real boon, because, for example, I was able to launch Commonwealth Says No More, looking at how we respond to the silent pandemic of domestic violence, which affects 1 in 3 women in the world.
Right.
Well, whilst I was a minister in the British government and was responsible for the interministerial group on domestic violence, I helped to lead the work which created a whole new holistic approach to this issue. We reduced domestic violence by 64%. We saved 7.1 billion economically cost every year. And I would like, through our Commonwealth Says No More work, to do something similar in our Commonwealth. And we know that the instruments we're putting together are powerful. I understand that one of our chapters of No More campaign has just received a UN award for human rights. Wow. So I know that many of the things that I have sought to encourage and work with our Commonwealth colleagues has come from those periods of my understanding of the civil and criminal justice system and the reforms, and the fact that I was privileged to work with my Commonwealth law ministers when I was Attorney General between 2007 and 2020. And that work continues today. Many of the Chief Justices that are in the Commonwealth I've known for many years. So I think every Secretary General brings their experience and their specialization into the job, and I'm very pleased that my experience has enabled me, I hope, to help a number of our members to do well. And being a family lawyer, I found that it's very useful when it comes to mediating difficult situations in some of our countries when they've needed help and support and someone to try and conciliate.
If I ask you to say in very short, what is the future of Commonwealth, what would be your answer?
It's a dynamic future. It is where we need to be, because it is looking at a digitalized Commonwealth. Digitalized education, digitalized health, digitalized law, digitalized environment, and it is a Commonwealth dedicated still to leaving no one behind and to helping to do everything we can climatically to save this planet. So I'm very proud of our Commonwealth. I think we're unique and we have been made for this time.
Right Honourable Patricia, Scotland, King's Counsel, Commander Secretary General, thank you very much, madam, for joining this interview, and thank you for your time. Thank you for visiting Sri Lanka, and we wish you luck and success in whatever you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.